So, was Final Fantasy 11 or is Final Fantasy 11 the best MMO? Let's see here.
Fantasy 11 was tough. Really tough. The game that we have access to in 2022 is accommodating, but is the result of 20 years worth of quality and life improvements.
Yep.
Likely designed in a way to accommodate the dwindling population since its heyday. The early years of 11 were brutal. Every death would chip away at your hard-earned XP, sometimes leaving you half naked because you de-leveled and now you can't equip.
Let's be honest, it wasn't half naked. Most of the time, it was just naked.
Your gear. However, this difficulty is what brought together the community.
Damn right it did.
One of the main reasons I have such fond memories of the game. Suffering in silence is one thing, but suffering together is how strong friendships and bonds are created.
Because you had to walk with each other.
Hades back in the day, before it merged into Cerberus. That server has...
Wait, not you? What do you mean, the whole... Are you talking about the whole suffering alone bit? Like, hell, I was being super anti-social at that point, and like, you know... Oh, the naked. Oh, the naked part. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Has a special place in my heart, as I met some amazing people there, and had a gaming experience that I've never been able to replicate to this day.
Same.
Final Fantasy XI has always been an exceptional MMO. Despite its difficult learning curve, it was reasonably...
The only time they ever come close to when we play 11.
...depth, and was a feat and joy to master. Veteran players proudly AFK'd in cities like Juneau and Whitegate, while newer players examined them in awe, wondering when the day would come when they could replicate the same aesthetic and strength. It's incredible the difference of 20 years can make in a game, especially when utilizing
6 hours to beat. Okay.
Engine. The 11 I occasionally come back to every couple of years.
That's not bad, dog.
Considerably more generous than the one I spent days updating with less than 1 megabyte broadband connection half a lifetime ago.
Oh god,
yeah. I got broadband very early. I appreciate some were on 56k still. The addition of trusts, mounts, and XP pages suddenly made the game feel far less dangerous than I remember. Running to the dunes, or even Juneau for the first time, was exhilaratingly dangerous. If you were unlucky enough to pull aggro from a mob or mobs, it was very likely you would die a swift death. You'd be then sent back from whenever your home point was saved to, most likely your main city. Potentially 40 to 60 minutes of traveling time completely wasted, as well as an XP loss. That didn't...
the dude is literally just telling the same stories I have told you, Chad, 100 times over. Like, yep.
Deter people though, it actually made these journeys fun, almost like a rite of passage to do so. The world.
Yeah, because it literally, like, no other game have ever had me as terrified, but as high on adrenaline as Final Fantasy 11 did during its heyday. Like 100%, like that a feeling that video game never have at all ever recreated for me in the last 20 plus years. Like no game have ever came close to that.
Felt alive and it felt dangerous. Final Fantasy XI, like similar games of that time, threw you headfirst into unexplained systems, menus, and mechanics. I remember vividly the first time I ever logged in, after reading through the text-based opening cutscenes and thinking, what the hell do I do now? While there were strong elements of previous Final Fantasy games present, nothing was too familiar. It was a whole new world, eagerly waiting to be explored. What's crazy to think is that at the time of release, just actually running the game was demanding. If you opted for the PlayStation 2 route, you'd need a specific hard drive and network adapter, which as you can imagine wasn't cheap. For PC, the graphics card required
like 150 bucks
than the one you were using for Counter-Strike or EverQuest. I remember my friends from Phantasy Star Online complaining that they'd finally received their copy of Final Fantasy XI, yet were struggling to run it. The learning curve didn't end there either. Navigating the Play Online launcher and registering your account and CD keys without losing your mind to the repetitive and catchy music was also a daring accomplishment by itself.
Fuck you, Play Online!
I quickly realized that there were no obvious linear paths to take when playing this game. I decided to adventure out in the world. Choosing Bastok as my starting city, I ventured into South Gothenburg. And
at least did not win, Dortz.
Often being forced back to my mog house in Bastok markets after being stung by one too many bees. I kept thinking to myself, surely this game can't be that hard, right? Weird little worms, small goblins, and oddly shaped pink birds kept murdering me throughout the morning. This was nothing like the game I had just come from, PSO, but 11's slow pace kept me intrigued. Still...
See, once again, chat, we always wipe out talking about PSO.
There was a lot of satisfaction seeing continuous whiffs of my sword, with the occasional 0.1 skill up notifications appearing in the chat box. If you grew up playing Final Fantasy
Still
games,
satisfying.
like I think a lot of 11 players did, your muscle memory for attacks, magic, and items was essentially useless. 11's menus had menus within a menu. Over time,
In
these
menu.
menus were a blessing, as it allowed quite a large amount of customization to what information you wanted to see, as well as allowing...
Hey, chat, look at that, chat. It literally you programming your characters in Final Fantasy 12. Just saying.
And specific pieces of gear to abilities and spells via macros, it legitimately felt like you'd pass a degree in programming once you're able to create complex macros on the fly.
Oh god, you're not
Having said
wrong.
all that, fully understanding the UI was just the first hurdle. There are 3 words that if uttered to 11 players, they either cheer with joy or weep in sorrow. Chains of
Promantia, yep.
The original 11 was hard, but the second expansion was really challenging.
It made the game twice as hard, if not more.
And people who were on the same mission as you were. It wasn't uncommon to find static groups who agreed to complete the whole expansion together with the same people. Looking back at it now, I'm not sure whether Chains of Promathia was how an expansion should be, or whether it really was just unnecessarily too long and difficult, especially when in comparison with Rise of Zilla or Treasures of Artagan. 11 existed at a time when data mining wasn't really a thing, and Wiki's fan sites were not as user-friendly as they are now.
Like, he being way too generous on that. If you count fan sites at GeoCity pages, then maybe. Then maybe.
Some of the best sites were fan-made, and there were so many crazy theories revolving around treasure hunter and crafting that were taken as gospel for years.
Oh my god. Oh god, I'm having flashback to that. Yeah, one of the conspiracy theories about crafting that might be relevant to Sam, because Sam want to be a crafter, is one of the theory was how Final Fantasy 11 had different days. It'd be like wind day, fire day, ice day, you know, that type of deal. Instead of doing, you know, Monday through Friday, it was like elemental days. So there were like the two rumors I remember the most of, well, one of them being like, hey, if you cook on fire days and using fire crystal, it will give you a higher % chance of cooking. That was one, and then the other one I remember being a big one was, okay, if the moon outside is red, you can use the crystals, but only if you craft while you staring at the moon or the sun on the exact days. It's like, yeah, winning and waxing moons, yep. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about then, X. Like, I remember them. I never bought them because I was like, it was like one of them cases I was in the camp of like, that sounds like bullshit, but if it's not bullshit, I had too much effort. I will go kill goblins and orcs and get crystals, then deal with that. So I never technically fell for that, but I remember hearing the rumors all the time and just being like, I don't give a shit. And literally, like, when I talk about, like, relic farming in PSO or gun farming or, you know, whatever weapon it, quote-unquote, in-game, it's just like, I don't care. And, like, that what the rumor was to me. Yeah, but, yeah, the whole thing, yeah, moon played an effect on especially fishing. Yep.
A lot of the theories and strategies for everything in the game were just passed on by random people, with a severe case of trust me bro. It almost felt like the age of primitive man, making up stories to explain why the sun comes up.
Yeah, that right there was like the one thing I miss so much about old games, especially old online games, or hell, just old games in general. And like I said, the whole reason why to this day I will always play from software game day one, because especially like more on the Souls side of deal, like can capture that feeling. Of like back in the day, well, you know, indicate you would talk to people. If it was another game, you would talk to like your friends at school or during lunch or in sort of walk or what, you know, whatever, whatever way you had like social experience, and like talking to people and in real life being like, hey, how do I do this? And then they would just randomly just like, oh yeah, because of this and this. And then you go home, might be after work, after school, and you spend like hours on end trying to get it to work. If not weak trying, to your friends would come out and admit that, like, yeah, I have no idea, I was just fucking with you. And that kind of how it was back in these days as well, because, you know, people didn't know any better. And then there was actually people straight up lying. There was the whole, like, you know, telephone situation where, like, oh, that was true, like, 9 people ago before, you know, like, the 8 people before added, like, random thing that now make it not true at all, you know, like, God, I admit that time of gaming, chat.
Or why it started raining. I was lucky enough to have been picked up by a friendly link shell early on in my 11 journey, which allowed me access to countless people who would teach me the ropes of the game, or help with specific quests or notorious monsters that would have otherwise stopped me from moving forward. I, of course, replicated this kindness and ran many people through numerous quests, missions, and NM kills throughout my time. This was especially important because
Which will be my plan any now. Hell, any now and me making videos are like, yeah, that's literally what it is. I learn the information, I pass it on, that way I can forget about it, and also to help out the people, so they can hopefully pass it on.
Or preparation that could be wiped out in an instant if you weren't fully prepared, wasting hours of time. This is what I loved though, the challenge, the accomplishment, the community. Obtaining gear or even just seeing it drop from a monster was exhilarating. I'll never forget my first H&M claim, which took hours and hours of frantically spamming a provoke macro during a specific time window. For those that don't know, H&Ms were essentially world bosses that had absurdly long respawn times and even
24 week
windows. Some of the best gear at the time were
only for like 10 minutes,
and the top players on the server would compete to try and gain hate or aggro on it before the other groups. There are few games that can rival the longevity of 11, especially when considering the game hasn't followed the free-to-play bandwagon so many of its competitors were forced to do so. It's too late to make the shift though, I feel, and what amazes me is that there are still enough hardcore fans to make it worthwhile for Square Enix to keep the lights on. When the console versions of 11 were shut down in 2016, it seemed like the beginning of the end.
What I was talking about yesterday.
Move on to better things, but a lot did stay, despite the rampant doom and gloom of the community assuming the worst. In reality, what actually happened is that the devs ramped up their work on the game and produced some fairly decent content, even all these years later. Similar to Final Fantasy XIV, one of 11's biggest selling points has always been its storyline. Personally, I was an avid cutscene skip spammer.
Yeah, this is a new expansion. I never seen it up.
I just felt like I didn't have the time to enjoy them, especially if there was a party of friends.
Oh my god, I feel that so hard. Like, yeah. That was the other thing, like, when I did my 100% playthrough up to the new-ish expansion, was, like, how you could sit there and you could spend, like, 30 minutes watching a cutscene, and then the whole time you got, like, 6 people sitting there being like, okay, let us know when you're done. Are you done? Is it over? Is it done? And just, like, the whole, like, pleasure, like, okay, I need to skip this, or I need to read super, super fast. Because if I've been too long in the cutscene, people might leave, and if one person leave, this is not getting done. You know? Like, don't get me wrong, later on they added an NPC where you could go back and watch the cutscenes, which was helpful. But, oh god, I feel what you're talking about so hard.
Friends or acquaintances waiting for me. I think if I could go back in time, I'd enjoy every aspect of the story to its fullest. It's quite funny to think about how 11's story is probably the longest and most intricate in the whole of the Final Fantasy series, yet only a...
I will argue it technically is the best story in any Final Fantasy to this day.
Small portion of fans will...
Because there was some expansion that is easily better than any Final Fantasy that came before or after.
Ever truly have sampled it. Speaking of which, there is nothing I would love more than a port or remake.
Oh god, that mobile remake that got canned.
Or just updated to the current age. Unfortunately, there were rumors of a mobile version of 11, but I believe it has been cancelled. I often reminisce of the 75 cap and below era, and it feels like a previous life. When the reminiscing becomes too much, I re-download the game and log on to my multi-99 job capped character, looking around at everyone with their fully upgraded Remo weapons and other top tier gear, and just always come to the conclusion that it isn't the same anymore. But that's okay.
Yeah.
The game had to evolve to stay alive, and I'd rather
it's still good,
exists in some capacity than it to be deleted forever. Perhaps if I joined a link shell full of talkative and friendly people, that would reignite my love for the current game. But as a father of 3 little Moogles, I'm not sure I have the time anymore. If you stay to the end, I tip my chocobo feathered fedora to you. I'd also love to hear about your fondest 11 memories, regardless of if it was...
Yeah, literally like most of my comment right now on YouTube, people talking about that.
As a fully decked out level 99. Thanks again, till next time.
Oh god. Oh god. Shut up, Admin Go. We are not to your Final Fantasy 14 video yet. Calm down. God, dude, like, yeah, like, that video was a lot of just, like, memory telling, like, what we do on stream, but, like, I feel the dude on this. So, like, so much of that, like, the little thing, that was, like, terrifying. Also, you know, starting the video about being terrified, that also kind of set the mood pretty quickly. Not long. That is a 75 day, pretty much in a nutshell, and we will see how the 75 days go, for Horizon. I imagine it's not gonna be nowhere near that bad. Or good, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, there was some memory. So yeah, chat, go enjoy the video. Make sure to go subscribe, give the dude some love, and I probably need to look at more of the videos. See, I need more memory story time videos of Final Fantasy 11, and yeah.